You're listening to Never Heard of It, a Night Shift Radio original. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating and review if you're so inclined. For more information, visit nightshiftradio.com. So,
yeah,
I had to rent a car early this past week.
okay.
When I say had to, I mean I didn't have to, but I had a particular set of errands in which a rental car expense was less than the cumulative cost of ride shares to and from all of my destinations.
Sure.
And that's usually the threshold at which I decide to rent rather than hail a Lyft. Although, during the last year or so, I've been less inclined to get into other people's cars while they're in them.
Yeah.
So I've rented a couple times for other reasons. All that to say, the cumulative cost is too much, or I have like a specific need of things that need to go in the vehicle. And it's like, you know what? It's a pain in the ass to do that in someone else's car. So I rented a car on Monday and we decided to make a Target run.
Yeah. Target run and done.
Which is something we haven't done in a long time. In fact, we went to Target when we first got this house to get like a few last minute supplies.
Sure.
And I could not tell you when the last time before that had been. So that's not a commentary on Target runs. That's just simply a statement of fact. While there, Ellen was looking for school supplies because she's enrolling in some classes, which is awesome.
Nice. Congrats to Ellen.
Yeah. Who Ellen, if you listen regularly, you heard last week talking with us about Mars attacks.
I know, so fun.
So while she was looking at school supplies, I went wandering. My end goal was to find a possibly better TV mount than the one that I got when I first moved in, that I have not yet managed to successfully mount on the wall. But while I went wandering, I went through the kitchen supplies, and I started thinking about how much I hate my pots and pans. So much. I hate them.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I've done my research, and I know that all of these really pretty, fancy, hipster, like ceramic ones that are all over like Instagram ads are garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they're like literal garbage, but they don't hold up over time. The ceramic coating breaks down much quicker than like a traditional nonstick coating. And so while they may have been more eco-friendly to begin with, they become less usable faster and thus become garbage faster.
Right.
So I looked around and I found one, the brand that I recognize, and I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I could look it up, but that's not important. I found a brand I recognize, and it was a hardened anodized aluminum nonstick. And I did some quick searching, and it was a really highly rated one. I was like, I think this is the one. So I got a big pan. I got the size that I usually cook my meals in.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to pick one pan to try out, it's going to be the one that I use the most. And if I hate it, fine, I'm no worse off. If I love it, then I'm going to buy the whole batch. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah, I had one of those ceramic pans. It got gifted to me for over a Christmas, and I remember using it and being like, "Oh, this is cool." Like, I didn't know anything about them, so I didn't do any research. And I remember using it and being like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. It cleans really easy. It doesn't stick on, like nothing like fried or anything like stuck onto it. The oil just slipped right off, and it was great." But I just remember like, after a while, I was like, it's just like all my other pans. I don't like, it didn't feel any different, but it looked different because it was that ceramic stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not much of a cook. I don't really like. I'm very basic when it comes to cooking. Like, the most extravagant cooking I did is when I subscribed to like HelloFresh.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that's the most extravagant cooking. Like, I typically am very basic when it comes to cooking. So.
Yeah.
To me, one pan versus the other, they all kind of feel the same.
Well, we've been using the Purple Carrot service, and for the most part, like I just use the same pan over and over again because it's usually like it'll say a medium or a large skillet, but honestly, like with the meals that we're cooking, most of them I just want the largest one possible, so I'm not like cramped in there because I want things to
Right.
cook
Things.
evenly.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then it flies off the side, and you're digging it out of your grates and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the stainless steel ones that we had, which seem like they should be really great and should be really easy to work with, it just like instantly things just stick to them like crazy. And when we first switched from using olive oil to avocado oil, it would like stuck less. Like they worked better for a little while,
Interesting.
but then even over time, they're just maddening to the point where like I can't even do the most basic things like get like a good sear on anything, and I can't get anything crispy because I can't get anything to like not stick to the pan long enough to like be able to move around and flip
Right.
sides.
You flip
It's
the
just
meat, and the whole thing just flies with it. Yeah.
yeah,
It just rips right off with it. Yeah.
and they're a mess to clean. You got to get down in there with the steel wool, which is annoying, and fuck you, just like you've got these forever like char marks on there that you'll never get out, and like the oil stains. I'm like, I hate it. I like my like I know that the basic premise of cooking is your shit's gonna get messy,
Right.
but I like for my stuff to start clean and end clean, and whatever happens in the meantime, that's fine. And I also like the most basic function of a nonstick pan for like it to not stick. Now I haven't
Right.
tested the ultimate test. I haven't fried an egg yet. But I've done some just like absolutely excellent crispy tofu. I just did a simmer sauce and then added some veggies to it. Like, I heat it up first, and then when I put the oil in, it just beads. Like the oil just glides on the surface. It
Oh,
doesn't
see, that's
like
nice. Yeah.
doesn't start to like the oil would start to like burn off and
It
like
just sizzle off, and then it becomes a burn. Yeah.
yeah onto my old pan. So like all of that to say, I'm really happy cooking again, which is nice because we've been cooking more for the last year plus,
Right.
as we've been spending more time at home. But after a while, it kind of just got to be a drag. I'm like, I don't fucking want to do this because it's gonna be miserable and it's not gonna come out right. Fine.
I mean, that's pretty much how it works with me. I after a while I'm like, but like I could just order food and it could be cooked fine and be here, and I can just sit here and not have to do anything, and then not have to clean afterwards.
Yeah,
So like,
you're right.
why would I do that? Why am I gonna? Especially, I mean, like right now it's just me and Juniper. It's just me and my kid. She's here 5 days a week. She's a picky eater as is. Like I could literally just feed that kid pasta every day, and she'd be like, "Great," And every once in a while throw in a pizza, and she'd be like, "This is the best ever," But like I try to mix it up. I give her food. I mean, she's not too much of a picky eater. She just would rather.
Yeah, no, I get
So
it.
it's just, yeah, it just becomes an ordeal half the time to try to make some sort of meal, and stuff. So sometimes like, I'll just order something. But I've been cooking a lot more. I will say, I guess this is submitting into evidence, so I apologize. This is probably bad, but so I live in an apartment complex, and somebody's HelloFresh order got delivered, and it was a huge box, and it was sitting in the like mail thing
Mm-hmm.
for like 4 days, to the point
Oh,
where it started to like kind of stink a little.
yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna take this thing. Like it stinks. I'm just gonna take it. And I brought it back inside to my apartment, and I was like, I'm just gonna throw away the shit and just take whatever's salvageable of it. And I'm like,
Yeah, 'cause there's always
it's been
some
almost
non-perishable stuff you can
right. Yeah, there's some
scrap something
seasonings.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the stuff. So I opened it up, and there was 5 meals in there, and there were some pretty good meals in there. And surprisingly, though, it was actually still pretty cold. Unfortunately, the thing that was starting to stink was there was shrimp in there, and that
Yeah.
was starting to just oh. But
No.
like the meats were still pretty cold. They were very sealed. All of the produce was good, and so I fucking ate that shit. I'm like,
Wow.
it just left there for like 5 days. So I mean, I threw away the shrimp, but I'm like, I
Yeah, smart
can't,
call.
like, I'm not gonna, what am I just gonna throw it away or just let it stink up the place? Like, management's obviously not taking care of it. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm not just gonna throw away food. You know what I mean? Like, I knocked on the person's door, nobody answered, and I'm not gonna sit there and, I mean, obviously they haven't checked their mail in 5 days. So
So
they probably just moved and forgot.
I
So,
say you play the game of like moved, vacation, or dead.
or dead, right. All right, so I don't know. I ate that shit.
And
I'm poor. It was tasty.
did they
Yeah.
just like combust?
Did they spontaneously explode? Maybe. And that being said, hello and welcome to the Never Heard of It podcast. I'm your host, Michael Fight.
And I am Caleb, the Covington curse.
So we
Am I stopping this now? Is that
yeah, we could stop that now. So we today are talking about the movie called Spontaneous. So we're kicking off a whole month of movies by pure coincidence. Well, sort of coincidence. Nothing's ever coincidence. But just out of the way things worked out, every movie we're reviewing this month is on Hulu, and that is to say, is not that was not intentional. That was not done on purpose. That being said, Plan B debuts May 28th on Hulu. That was a film that I got to work on this past year. But by pure coincidence, that the rest of our films are Hulu films. So definitely check out Plan B when it airs. But anyway, but my hope is I've only seen half of these movies, maybe. I don't even think I've seen all of them. You've seen one.
Yeah.
I've seen one. And I have not seen the other two. No, I've seen two. I've seen Spontaneous and I Kill Giants.
Okay.
And you've seen Colossal.
Yes.
I have not seen Higher Power, and I have not seen She Dies Tomorrow. I did watch the trailer for all of those, though.
Excellent. Yeah.
So I'm really excited for this month. I think it's going to be 5 movies in a row that are good. That's assuming you liked this movie.
That will be a tremendous feat if we manage to get 5 in a row that are not terrible.
I completely agree. We have a bad history with with that. So today we're going to talk about the movie Spontaneous, as you guys have noted. Hopefully you guys are watching watching or listening to our trailers that we put out that kind of prep you for the movie, so you guys can watch in advance if you choose to, or if you wait for the full review so that you could decide whether or not you're going to watch the movie. So today we're talking about Spontaneous. It is currently streaming on Hulu and Prime Video. So this is a wild movie, and it's actually based on a book.
Is it really? Yes, yeah, that's right. It is.
Yeah. So it's based on a book by I'm not gonna be able to find it, but
you messed up.
I done goofed.
Aaron Starmer.
Yeah, Aaron Starmer. So the general plot of this movie is teenagers start spontaneously exploding. Not combusting. They don't catch on fire. They just pop like a balloon.
Just a spray of blood.
Yeah. So content warning. There's a lot of swear words, teenage drug and alcohol use, and blood everywhere. You see people's blood and guts.
Much blood.
Yeah. So now,
not really any gore. Like they mention the meaty bits. But you never really see any. It's not like you see like guts flying everywhere or whatnot. It really is just like buckets of blood. But like that said, like if your stomach gets if you get queasy, maybe don't.
Yeah, and the thing that was really interesting about this movie, and I'm not sure, but I would assume it's probably a limitation of just budget and stuff, is that you never actually see the person explode. And when I say that, is that you never are looking at a person as they explode. Basically, it always cuts to the people getting sprayed with the blood, like it's frames worth of a cut, but you never actually watch the person explode, so you don't see how that looks.
I think that is what helps keep it at, we'll say, a soft R and in the realm of a comedy rather than hard R full horror. Because if you saw these fuckers blow up, that would be so gross.
Right. And, so what's wild about this is that, like, it's not like 3 people. It's like 25 kids that blow, like it's a lot of kids that blow up, and you see a lot of them happen, whereas a lot of these movies, I think of I think of back to the movie. What's the zombie one? Cold, something. The one.
Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies. Yeah. Where
Yeah,
did we do that movie? Did we
we
cover that
didn't.
movie?
We
We
should.
didn't. We should. It was good. But yeah, so basically it's where the zombies basically come back to life, and stuff. And that falls into the realm of this with me a little bit, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, let's take this horror element but add this sort of like rom-com sense to it. But like, this film is way more quirky than Warm Bodies. Warm Bodies is very like, no, and this film is kind of like, that's kind of fucked up, but
Yeah.
this is a good movie.
I mean, we've already established that the novel was written by Aaron Starmer, but as I'm watching it, my reaction, and I think I messaged this directly to you.
Yeah.
This is the weirdest John Green novel ever.
so so the movie the movie's great. So I do want to point out that pretty much the first line of this movie is probably the best line of this of any movie I've seen. It starts off with saying, Caitlin Ogden was many things, but she wasn't particularly explosive. And she exploded. And that was just...
Then she exploded.
Then she explodes. Just absolutely fantastic. So the story basically follows around this senior class, where there is an epidemic of kids spontaneously exploding, and it starts with Caitlin Ogden. She just one day explodes in math class, and nobody really knows what the deal is. And we follow the story of Mara. So Mara is played by Catherine Langford. Yeah. And Catherine Langford has she's been in a lot of things. For those of you that like good movies, she was in Knives Out. She plays Meg Thrombey in Knives Out.
For those of you who like good movies, why are you listening to this podcast?
Why are you listening to this podcast? Right.
But yeah,
there's that too.
She definitely, like, she was one that I recognized but couldn't remember from where until I saw that she was in Knives Out, and I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. She had a very 10 Things I Hate About You era Julia Stiles vibe throughout this movie.
Totally. Yeah, I could feel that a lot. Yeah. Something, and I what I like about her character in this is, she has a level of like, haha, I'm gonna joke my way through it, but like, what's great is that progressively throughout the film, you see more and more how much she is emotionally not dealing with what's happening, and you see it getting to her more and more. Because a lot of times with these movies, I feel like the writer or the director makes a mistake where they make the character like this quirky person, and then they either never emotionally deal with the bullshit that's happening, or they over emotionally deal with the bullshit that's happening. I mean, that's kind of silly, but because however you emotionally deal with a thing is how you emotionally deal with it, whether it's extreme or non-extreme. But typically, like, they always push them to one extreme or another, and you never see a spiral in a film like this. Which I thought was great. I mean, you felt it, like, as it gets progressively worse, you feel with the character. You're like, oh my god, this is really fucking bad. Yeah, it's scary.
And like, everybody's means of dealing with it are so like so interesting to watch, because like some people are like full, and like there's the one character who like keeps the sweatsuit that the police give her the first time when Ogden explodes, and she just starts adding names to it, and it just says like, we'll never forget, and like she just goes all in on the memorializing, and then we have Tess, the best friend character, who is just like, no, I have to finish school and I have to get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't like, I can't stay here. Like, I have to live. And then you've got, the jocks that are just like, we're going to play football and we're going to party until we explode.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah. And then you have like the weird conspiracy theorist guy who's walking around in like full like body armor.
Oh my god, Cole.
Cole. So speaking of the best friend, the character's name is Tess McNulty, but it's played by Haley Law, who plays Valerie Brown in Riverdale.
No,
Val is famously 1/3 of Josie and the Pussycats.
that's true.
Yep. She also is Lizzie Elliott on Altered Carbon. She's in
Yep.
both seasons of Altered Carbon,
Yes.
which is pretty fucking cool. She's great in that. So that was pretty cool. So I mean, I recognized her from Altered Carbon. Just specifically as soon as I saw it, because she has very distinct eyes, and I was like, I know her, and I looked it up and I was like, that's where I saw her from, Altered Carbon.
Also, the way that she wears her hair through a lot of it in
Yeah.
two large, bushy fro sections, which I'm sure there's a better name for that hairstyle, but it's just like basically a double afro, and I fucking
Yeah,
love
yeah.
it. And like it's very distinctive look for her that she wears a lot in Altered Carbon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, she was great. And then we are eventually introduced to Dylan, who Dylan is played by Charlie Plummer. And Charlie Plummer, I'll be honest, I didn't recognize him. I mean, I like recognized him, but I could not pinpoint where. And like in looking through his IMDb, I still don't know what I recognize you from. Maybe Boardwalk Empire.
the basic
Maybe.
impression that I get is that he plays a lot of this character.
Yeah.
Because I made the joke about this being the weirdest John Green novel,
Right.
and he plays Miles in the Looking for Alaska series. So,
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. And then the other most notable person is the dad. Mara's dad is Rob Hubel, who was on the Daily Show. He was in a movie called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. Great movie. He is also in I Love You Man. But he's voices on Bob's Burgers. He was on Conan. Like he's done a lot of stuff. I'm a fan of Rob.
you're going to gloss right over the mom?
Oh, did
Fucking
I?
Piper Parabo.
Is that Piper? I
Yeah.
didn't even recognize her. Holy shit! The last time I like thought about Piper Parabo was, of course, one of my favorite movies, Stick It. But that was fucking forever ago.
I assumed you were going to say Coyote Ugly.
Well, no, no, I'm much more of a nerd. Wait, was she in Stick It? She was in Stick It, right?
I don't know.
Or am I confusing her with someone else? I think I
You're
am
totally
confusing her
confusing
with
her.
someone else.
Yeah, she wasn't in that.
Yeah. Who the fuck was that? Who's the main character in Stick It? That one's probably Missy Peregrine. That's who I was confusing her for. Which they look nothing alike, by the way. But Piper Parabo was in she was in a movie, what is it? Not Dazed and Confused, but something like that. When she was younger, and I just remember seeing that one. Oh, she was in the Prestige as well.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like she was a younger kid in that one. Let's see, what's it called? Lost and Delirious. And I remember watching it. It's a really messed up movie, but I remember that Misha Barton's in that movie. And I remember it was a big deal because it's like, Misha Barton was like a kid, and it deals with very like highly sexualized kids and stuff like that.
Wait a second.
I will.
Wait a second.
Okay.
You're going to tell me
Yeah.
the Beverly Hills Chihuahua was 2008?
What?
I thought that was at least 1998.
Dang. I guess.
That is a much more recent film than
Yeah.
I remember it being.
But I mean, also, that's 13 years ago. But yeah. Beverly Hills Chihuahua. Oh man.
Holy
man. So
fuck.
my ex-wife, her son fucking loved that movie. He was 5 when it came out. He was fucking upset. We used to watch that and Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2 on fucking repeat. That was like, because like kids do that when they're like 4 or 5. They like pick one movie and that becomes their entire personality for a year.
Yeah.
And his was Beverly Hills Chihuahua. It was just that was the only movie he wanted to watch on repeat. My daughter was she was in the Frozen age, so hers was Frozen. But he Beverly Hills Chihuahua was what got him. We had Chihuahuas,
Wow.
so that's probably why. But
Yeah,
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 so there's
that
probably that
makes sense.
association. But yeah, oh man. But yeah, so pretty decent cast for the thing. Now there's not a budget listed for this movie, but if I had to guess, I'm gonna say it's probably in the 2 to 5 million. That's my guess.
Okay.
Because I don't think this got. Yeah, this probably didn't get a theater release. I would assume this was probably one that just went straight to digital. Looks like it was made in Canada, even though it was an English an American film. But it was shot mostly in Vancouver and British Columbia, Canada, and it came out just last year. This came out in October of last year, so this is a new movie.
Yeah, and like there are very clear references to the time period that's in. I mean, they specifically mention the year being 2019,
Yep.
and there are some spot on references to um, the former presidency that we just all lived through.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
her showing up to school in like full morning gear the day after, which is something that I remember witnessing, like variations on that, not necessarily like black dress and a veil, but like people showing up in all black, and I remember that vividly.
Mm-hmm.
And she at the very end mentions, I'm going to be president, and I'm going to like, Trump from his golden casket is going to be like, who is this bitch? And he's going to be like, that's president bitch to you, motherfucker.
I love there's a lot of moments of those like references and like cool little cutaways. I thought that was cool.
No.
Um
A lot of quick cut editing from scene to scene too, which I really appreciate. Like, the moment when they're we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it's our fucking podcast. It doesn't matter. The
yeah.
moment when they're at Ms. Ogden's funeral, and Mara's like, you know what I need, and she turns around and is like, drugs, and like you see that the scenery is different behind her, and the camera pans around, and she's with her classmates who are the local dealers, and there's a lot of just quick cut stuff like that that I really fucking loved.
Oh yeah, no, I 100% appreciate that. So I do want to point out the director and writer of this film is Brian Duffield. Brian Duffield actually was the writer for the movie Underwater, which was Kristen Stewart. I actually really liked that movie. I know a lot of people did not like it.
Seen that?
I actually really liked it.
I don't think I've
Um,
seen that.
he also was the writer for The Babysitter. You would love Underwater. Like you would
Hmm.
fucking love Underwater.
Yeah, I mean, it looks
I
like I
think it's
would.
on HBO Max.
Just trying to
Maybe.
remember if I actually saw. I don't think I saw that.
Oh, you would. Yeah. No, you have to watch that.
I mean,
Um,
it's like the Abyss, but looks maybe cooler. Yeah, I'm into it.
yeah, you'll dig it. I'm not going to give it away because
Okay.
it's like a reveal, so I'm not going to give it away.
All right.
But also, so he was the writer for the Divergent that series that was a book to series. Yeah.
The Babysitter.
Yeah, The Babysitter. I was getting there. That movie was fucking amazing. Yeah, The Babysitter, and a movie which I actually heard was really good, but I haven't done. I haven't watched is Love and Monsters.
Oh
That may
yeah,
actually be one we do here. Love and Monsters apparently was a pretty decent film.
it sounds up
Um,
our alley.
yeah, and he also wrote the sequel to The Babysitter, which wasn't bad. It was fun. And then he also wrote Jane Got a Gun. He did the screenplay for that one. And that's a Natalie Portman film. So it looks like his only directing role. So this was his first time, seemingly first time credited as a director.
Yeah.
Good for you, Brian. You did it, dude. You should do more.
He has another one announced, but no details other than a tagline: "A young married couple struggles to survive against a supernatural entity." Titled "Vivian hasn't been herself lately." So
Oh.
sign me up the moment that comes out.
Yeah, seriously. I will, yeah, 100% in for that one, because so far you have a very good history of writing and directing. So you done good. You done good. Yeah, so again, the movie starts off right off the bat with the explosion of Caitlin Ogden. We see the whole class gets put into quarantine. They're stripped of all their clothes, they're given the sweat suits. They try to figure it out. At first everyone was like, was she a suicide bomber? Like, what was it? Like, was this suicide? Like, was this self-inflicted?
Mm-hmm.
And they try to basically figure out. And there's actually a really funny scene where Mara is being interviewed by the police, and he says, like, hey, did Caitlin say anything that weird? And she's like, what, like wanting to explode? And he was like, and she was like, yeah, oh yeah, she talked about wanting to explode all the time. And you
All the
see him
time.
like writing on his pad. And she was like, no, I was kidding. And he holds up his pad. And I thought this was really clever. This was a clever way to show what her name was. It says, Mara Carlisle, unhelpful. I thought that was really great. I thought that was a really great way to, one, introduce your name and, set the tone.
It's great because she is that like snarky, like never shuts it off, like always fucking with people, and the guy's just like, I know what you're doing, and
You
I'm over it
shitty fucking
already.
kid.
I'm already over it.
Right. Right. Like a kid literally just exploded. Like, don't be an asshole. Uh, so as the film goes on, so the first thing that happens, everybody is like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on? Like, nobody understands really what's going on. And Mara makes the point of saying, like, well, it's gonna happen again. Like, this isn't an isolated, like, she calls it right off the bat. Someone was like, oh, I just can't wait to go back to normal. And she's like, that's not going to happen. Like, this is going to happen again. And even if she says it in passing, it's true. We do
Mm-hmm.
know that this is going to happen again.
Well,
And
we know.
later, oh, we know. And later that night, she gets a text message from an unknown number, basically just professing, saying that they have a crush on this person. And they pull the old clever, cutesy, where she was like, "You don't send me a dick pic," and he sends her a picture of Richard Nixon.
I love it. She's like,
Uh,
that was dumb. Send more.
Send more. Yep. And so she eventually tells her best friend Tess later that a guy sent her dick pics, but more specifically, it was pictures of Richards. To which Tess says, "Ew, that's worse," which is pretty great.
Yeah, because he runs into them at the diner, and she's like, "Oh my god, it was you! You're Dick Pic Dylan." You said dick pics? Ew, no, that would be gross.
Great. That's great. There's a boy staring at us. So there is. I think he's staring at you. So he is. Very, very good. Yeah, so we had mentioned the scene before where she went off to get drugs. So she went off and got a whole bunch of mushrooms. So while at the diner, she basically dunks all the mushrooms into her tea and just doesn't, drips them back and
chug a mug of mushrooms.
yeah, oh boy. And this is where we meet Dylan, Dick Pic Dylan, who comes up and, they start having a conversation and, they're obviously flirting. They're obviously flirting in front of Tess and all that. And she's, being like, he's flirting with you. And so then Mara's like, would you like to take me to the ladies' room? He thinks for a second. And before we go into that of his response, see, I'm gonna cliffhanger you. First off, I want to say thanks everyone for watching on YouTube. We super appreciate it. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead, hit subscribe and like, comment, and subscribe. And for those of you listening on your podcast player of choice, I cannot stress this enough. One of the most important things you could possibly do outside of subscribing to Patreon or following us on social media, which is cool, but really the most important thing you guys could do is leave a rating and review, specifically if you are an Apple Podcast listener, which, I see analytics. Most of you are.
We see
So
you. We see you.
we see you. We know what's up. But for those of you that are, if you could leave a rating and review, it would be super helpful. Even if you just ding, however many stars you think this podcast is worth, that's cool too. But leaving a comment is also really great. Honestly, we super appreciate that sort of stuff. It is what helps us grow in the Apple Podcast platform. So, or I'm asking politely, if you could do that, please do.
Don't make him beg, because he will.
Dude, I totally will. I'm not below it.
You okay with
Please. Maybe. We'll see.
Please leave us a review.
But yeah, other than that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we will get into what they do in the bathroom.
Oh. Looking for something heroic in your life? Go check out our friends at the Superpod HeroCast. They're guys with beers talking about movies with capes. Every episode goes in depth with a different superhero movie. A classic of modern cinema? A certified stinker? It doesn't matter. If it's a superhero movie, they're going to talk about it. Start with a little bit of comedy, add in some film analysis, and finish it off with a heaping dose of geekery. You've got the Superpod HeroCast. It doesn't matter if you're a casual fan or a 20th level nerd. Download their latest episode, grab a beverage, and enjoy the fun. The Superpod HeroCast. Be heroic.
Second Edition 1 is Night Shift Radio's Battlestar Galactica fancast. Each week, Battlestar veterans Caleb and Kitsy revisit, and newcomer to the show, Andrea, watches for the first time the 2004 sci-fi series Battlestar Galactica. They've just entered their third season, which means you've got 2 full seasons of sci-fi gold to binge if you want to watch along with them. Whether you're the commander of a soon-to-be decommissioned battleship, or were recently promoted to president of the 12 colonies. Join Caleb, Kitsy, and Andrea as they make their way through the Battlestar Galactica universe one episode at a time. Watch Battlestar Galactica free on Peacock and find Second Edition 1 at Second Edition 1 throughout the podcast.com or wherever you get podcasts. Hello and welcome back. When we left you, we dangled an illicit invitation for Dick Pick Dylan, to take Mara to the ladies' room.
Dangled an illicit invitation. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, it was great. I appreciated my wit. Someone's gotta. And it turns out the reason why she wanted him to take her to the ladies' room is to hold her hair while she vomited from having all of those magic mushrooms.
Which I guess would be a thing. I've never taken shrooms, so I don't know if you can get so high that you vomit.
Yeah, I also same, so I don't know. Yeah, so listeners, can you get so high on magic mushrooms that it causes you to vomit? Question. Yeah. We want to know.
If you're that high, can you function enough to have a conversation, like a lucid conversation? Because that seems to be a little incongruous to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we were to think that she takes the mushrooms and they don't kick in until she vomits, and that's when she starts seeing multiple of Dylan's in the bathroom. Also, not a good look for like your first meeting with your crush to have them hold your hair back while you vomit. That, I mean, I guess in the world of like students randomly exploding, maybe this doesn't seem as like off the cuff. But if my first instance with you, I have gone on a date. I went on a date with a girl, and like she got so insanely drunk that like like once the date was like winding down, she was like lunging at me, and I was like, this needs to stop. She ended up biting me on my collarbone while I was like literally like holding her back. And with my friend, we were at my friend's graduation party, who was holding her back as well, being like, hey, I think you should stop. And she bit my collarbone and left a bruise for like a week and a half. And she ended up passing out shortly after biting my collarbone. And we just like, me and my friend, like her and I, we just tucked her she ended up passing out in my friend's bed, and we just tucked her in her bed, and then I just went home. So I was like, I can't do this anymore, and I never returned her calls.
Oh no.
So like, sloppy drunk isn't a good sloppy intoxication is not a good look for a first date. Just saying.
Yeah. But
That's my dating advice.
I mean, Dylan takes it very well, and I got to imagine there is some allowance for someone experimenting with various psychedelics to deal with the fact that like one of their classmates literally just exploded the seat in front of them.
Yeah, so this is the exception to that rule. I feel like this is the perfect exception. But on a typical, regular, average day, not a good look.
Yeah, try to regulate that a little bit. Like, and you know what? I understand the nerves, but you don't want to take it too far.
Yeah, totally. I mean, in all fairness, if I don't do drugs or anything like that, but if people started spontaneously exploding, I would.
Yeah.
I mean,
rules are off at that point.
I mean, yeah, and Tess makes this point, Dylan makes this point. Mara kind of eventually gets to this point, is like, you could explode at any minute. So like, what are you waiting for? Like, Tess is like, I'm going to finish school. I'm going to go off. I'm going to finally leave this town, and I'm going to go off and live my life because I could explode at any moment. Dylan's like, I'm going to go buy a car, and I'm going to do this thing because like, I've been saving up for to do a college thing, but like I could have a car right now and go and see the world and stuff. And that's like, people are starting to like, it's that like, the threat of mortality that's right there. They're just kids.
So thinking about this from like the grander perspective, and how movies in general, but like horror, we'll say this is horror adjacent,
Sure.
tend to be very allegorical. Thinking about how it's a very heavy-handed allegory for like life is short and like live now, but also I feel like, especially because it's it's a high school rom-com. It's set with high school seniors and younger. Like, how bad have previous generations left this world that like this is where like high school movies are at now? Like, this is the like, we have to live for now because it could be our last day. And like, they're going to the extremes of like, it's hilarious, tragically hilarious that all of our classmates are just exploding and dying, and like we still have to go to school. And
yeah.
So I'm not faulting the movie at all. The movie is fantastic. There's a lot of the way that the characters in this movie, and like just the town, the adults and whatnot, like the way that people handle this situation. Then it's like, really, that's how we're gonna play it? Like, you're gonna make the kids keep going to, you know what? Like, just give them their fucking diplomas. And like,
I kept sending them back. They kept taking them out of school and then fucking sending them back. It was like, bitch, why? They're seniors. I mean, it's like, what are they gonna learn in 4 months? Like, it's almost prom season, So like, it's the end of the year at that. Crazy.
Like, I don't even want to take it down to like the really dark alleyways that my brain has gone down for this, because this is a comedy podcast. But like, holy hell.
Yeah. No, I'll be honest. So I watched this movie a couple of days ago. I came across it really late at night. I was kind of, I was in bed. I wasn't tired, and I was flipping through, and this came up on Hulu. And I saw it, and I was like, all right, I'll watch it. I expected more rom-com than what it was. And I'll be honest, like after finishing watching it, I was like, fuck. Because like, the one thing about a zombie movie is, to just avoid zombies. Like, the rules, what to do to not die. Like a werewolf movie, what to do to not die. If there's werewolves within. Wink, wink.
Unless they have a gun and they're out for revenge.
Oh shit. But like, when it comes to a monster or a spiritual entity, like there's always a thing you can do to avoid it. That's not the case for this movie. And spoiler, they never ever find out what the fuck causes it.
No.
These kids just fucking explode. They just explode. And so it's just like this, you could just explode. Like,
Yeah.
you could just explode. There's no stopping it. There's no preventative. Like, the government tries all this medicine and stuff like that, but it doesn't fucking work.
Yeah.
So, like,
They quarantine the kids in like this like tent in the middle of the woods or something like that. We actually don't even find out where. We like the scene
I
starts in
just
the woods.
assume it's the
Um,
edge of town or
yeah,
something.
Mara's out with the Daltons, the local drug dealers, because the FBI, like the government scientists and whatnot, kind of want to know like anything and everything that the kids might have consumed. You know, like if they're into drugs, okay, like let's see if there's maybe something with the drugs, and it isn't like let's bust these kids. It's like let's figure this out.
Right.
And so she's in the car with them as they're going to find their hidden stash because we don't keep it in our house because you never know when the feds will try to fuck you.
Which is
Uh,
really fucking smart, by the
it's
way.
super smart. Don't
Note.
keep your drugs in the house.
Don't keep your drugs in the house. Very smart. Unless it's legal in your state, then do whatever you want.
And then have all the drugs.
Yeah.
But while en route, both of the Daltons explode, and leaving Mara alone in the car. And Dylan comes across her later on in his fucking ice cream truck, which is great.
Yeah.
She's down by the river trying to wash the Daltons off of her,
They
which
just
like
won't come out.
is one of those moments where she's like her veneer starts to crack, and she's like, I can't get them off. I can't get the blood out of my clothes. Like, and she has like a kind of a breakdown moment. And then like she's suddenly back to normal. She's like snaps out of it and she's cracking jokes. And like the scientists show up and she's like, "What is this ET bullshit?" So they get sequestered in the tent. And as you said, the government's trying all sorts of different things. They keep giving them different medicine to try. And just when they think it's working, someone explodes. So like kid gets up and gives a passionate speech during one of the presentations and explodes. Middle of the night, a kid explodes in their sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And it's just like it just keeps happening. And then finally, they go what must be like feel like a sufficient amount of time without anyone exploding. And they think, well, this batch works, but does it?
But does it?
And, and up until now, it's been one at a time and pretty like spaced pretty far apart.
Yeah.
But they send him back to school. There's a moment where like Mara doesn't want to go back, and Tessa's like, "Oh, but we have to," and they go back, and people just start fucking exploding like crazy.
Like, yeah,
like
left.
most of the class dies in this scene as they're running around.
It's pretty much like it's pretty much like the end of Carrie. Like that's where it's just like buckets of blood everywhere, kids running from a school. Like it is wild.
Which is great because during the Halloween scene, she shows up wearing a prom dress, and she's like, "Oh, you were supposed to be Carrie, weren't you?" And she's like, "Yeah, Caitlin ruined that." And like she looks over, and the other kids are like, "What the fuck?" She's like, "No, I didn't mean it." You know what? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. So progressively throughout the movie, we see Dylan and Mara start to become boyfriend girlfriend. They have this really cute relationship. They're both kind of like quirky and snarky, and it just really works. We get many ET references throughout this movie. So you mentioned the scene where they get sequestered off and they're in their little quarantine thing, and they do the like Elliot ET Elliot. Actually at the end we get a reference. So this is a big spoiler. But shortly after the prom, everybody's exploding, right? So she's running, or is it graduation at this point? I think it's they do like a fake graduation.
The very end, they do like a combined graduation and prom with like whoever's left.
Right. Oh yeah, but I think that's before the part I'm about to, or after the part I'm about to say.
Yeah.
So during prom, everybody's exploding. Mara runs out. Her and Dylan kind of get separated. She runs out and she ends up getting stopping and outside, and she's like, "Oh my God." Dylan comes up to her and is like, "Hey, like it's okay, it's okay, it's okay." And then the screen just goes red.
Oh my God.
And this was crazy. And it's red for a minute. We don't really know who explodes, but it turns out Dylan actually explodes, so much so that a piece of his jawbone gets embedded in Mara's forehead.
Oh my God. And so like There's a good sense that because she's the narrator, she probably doesn't die.
Right.
That's not always the case, but there's a good sense that that's going to be. But they do this scene where like it's just like a close up of both of them, like back and forth, showing them like reunited after like half their classes exploded and they're covered in blood and they're like, it's okay, we're here, we're like, we love each other, and then that red screen and just like silence, and it's like,
What the fuck?
oh.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah,
And
that was
they held it for a lot longer than I expected too.
it was pretty I mean they did the foreshadowing line. Dylan says like, "Hey, I could be the next one to explode." And I'm like, "Well, bitch, you're exploding." Like
Yeah,
that's
that's it.
like that's it. You sealed your fate. Like you said it in the first 20 minutes of meeting you. Like you're done for.
Mm-hmm.
But on Dylan's headstone, he has the quote, "I'll be right here," which are the last words that E.T. spoke to Elliot. So this is yet another callback to E.T.
Aw.
and their moment in the quarantine. So that was a fun little callback. But so at this point, this is like the tipping point. We mentioned that we see a few scenes earlier of Mara kind of like losing it. This is the moment where that's it. She is gone. I mean, she
Mm-hmm.
goes pretty much catatonic for a little bit, but then it's just she is nonstop drugs, nonstop drinking. She's no longer going to school. Like she walks into a store, grabs alcohol off the shelf, and just fucking walks out. Like no, everyone's like staring at her, and she's just like, "Hey," and just walks out and drinks, and she ends up accidentally smashing the back windshield of the FBI person's car,
Have
which
a
is
drink and tosses the bottle straight through the fucking charger.
oh, it was great. But she's a mess right now. So, and obviously her parents don't know what to do. Like, how do you comfort your child for this? We've talked about this already, but I have to stress, like, this isn't like a teen suicide movie where you can talk to them about, preventing suicide. This isn't a drug overdose movie where you talk to them about like moderation or not doing drugs or something like that. Like kids are just fucking exploding for no reason. How do you console your child when they could literally explode any second?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do
Mm-hmm.
it? There he's the father's even like, we're not equipped to deal with this. Like, I
No.
don't know how to comfort you, and they're very lenient on her. Like, they don't like crash down on her when she's doing drugs and drinking. He even gives her pot at one point.
But just let him be the cool dad.
Let him be the cool, right?
There's a great moment where like it shows her like doing a cocktail tutorial, and she's like,
Yeah,
take 3 parts vodka and 1 part dry vermouth, a little ice, and then take the grenadine and basically pour out the whole fucking bottle in there. And you have a cocktail that I like to call "All My Friends and Boyfriends Are Dead." It's just like, so I have a couple of questions.
which is great because that scene starts off looking like she's doing like a YouTube video. Like you expect it
Yes.
to be like posting to social, but when it cuts back, it's her dad sitting at the table going, so
And she just picks up the drink and chugs it. He's like, "Don't do that." Okay.
don't, I
She's like, "Don't worry, you can have the next one." And when she goes to the actual prom and she carries her bottle of tequila in with her after having a little mini heart to heart with Tess, who of course they had the mini best friend falling out and recovery moment and whatnot.
Yeah,
Um,
which that was probably the only part of this movie that I was like, that seems
yeah,
weird. It kind of just felt like they just kind of ditched the best friend for like the middle of the movie, and then she sort of comes back. But
yeah,
it
which
it, it wasn't too big of a deal, but it was enough where I was like, that's weird. She just kind of doesn't
it
show up.
it was kind of tropey. I mean, I get it. Like, I think with more time, the movie would have shown them like just handling things differently, which is
Yeah,
very much what happens. But because the Tess wasn't given a lot of screen time during, like you said, during like the whole middle section, that we really only get to see her being like, "I have to go to school."
right.
Okay, cool, go to school.
Yeah,
But Mara wanders in with her bottle of tequila and walks over to the punch bowl and just starts pouring it in. There's a great moment where like two of the chaperones are just watching her just pour the whole bottle, and she just looks dead in the eyes, just pours the whole thing, picks up the spoon and stirs it, and then walks away with the whole bowl and is just drinking out of the ladle.
The chaperones just kind of shrug, like, yeah, what? I mean,
But like, seriously though, like if this were happening, like, what do you do? Like,
right.
you're not gonna punish them.
Right, to be like, how dare you, do the thing all teenagers do during prom anyways. Please don't explode blood on me.
Yes.
Like, please don't explode your guts onto my face.
Like, I kind of wish you wouldn't be doing this right now, but like the fact that you're not exploding is good enough.
It's good enough. I think that's the bare minimum we're going for, is not exploding.
Please don't explode.
Yeah. Anything above that is whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So Mara I mean, she's in it right now. She's an absolute mess. She has her moments, like, this is her complete breakdown. And, she kind of has that realization, like, she comes home and she's like, she finally, like, says to her parents, like, I'm sorry. Like, I just don't know what to do. Like, she is basically like, I'm a mess. I don't know how to emotionally deal with this. And her parents are good parents and are like, yeah, of course you don't. Your friends are exploding.
When she's like, at least you can't say that you had it so much harder now. And mom's like, no, you're right.
No, you're right.
It's way worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first line that we get to see her mother speak, when, like, after they pick her up after Caitlin dies, and she's like, I'm not going to school tomorrow. And the mom's just like, and no shit, sweetie.
Yeah. No shit. Yeah. Yeah. And it's so the movie basically rounds out with a whole bunch of people exploded. The quarantine fails, that people, the medicine fails, they all sort of explode, and eventually we have this moment at the graduation / prom or whatever, where Mara starts to see social media posts where everybody's blaming Mara because Mara was present for all of the explosions. Like, people are thinking she's the common denominator. So she goes up onto stage and she's like, she's trashed and she's like, it's me. It's my fault. I'm the Covington curse. I'm sorry. Like, she's in it right. Like, this is, her moment of being like, I deserve this. I was wrong. And there's kind of this weird I am Spartacus moment that happens. Not weird, but like, it's kind of cool because the point of this is to show that everything Mara, and this is what does it for Mara, is it shows that everything she's feeling, everybody else is feeling it too. Everybody else is having those grief moments because she's like, it's me. I'm the common denominator. I'm the one causing everyone to explode. And then someone else was like, no, it's me. I was jealous of Caitlin and, I wished that something bad would happen to her, but I didn't mean this. And then someone else was like, no, it's me. I did this thing. And some other person's like, no, it's me because I did this. And everybody kind of has their I am Spartacus thing. And that's the moment where Mara's like, oh, fuck. Like, yeah. Like, everybody is fucked up because of this. Like, she was in this moment where she felt like everybody was acting normal, but they're not. Everybody is grieving in their own way, but they're all feeling the feelings.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, and that's when she goes home and says to her parents, like, I'm sorry. I just, my boyfriend exploded in my face. Literally into my face. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I do also, this was one of those, like, fucked up things where you're like, you laugh, but then you're like, oh, that's also bad. So they, Mara and Dylan actually have sex at one moment. You don't see anything. There is no nudity in the film. But they, after they're done, they're sort of, laying in bed and, like, discussing it. And he was like, honestly, the whole time I was just saying, please don't explode on her. Please don't explode on her. I think that's fucked up, but
you guys have it so hard.
Right? Oh boy. Yeah. So eventually in the movie, people just stop exploding. There is no explanation. We get no resolution to why kids were exploding. We don't know what the trigger was, what the thing was. It's just eventually it stops. And we do learn that it was only in this city. So it was only in this high school in this town, right?
Weird ass little town in Jersey.
Yeah, that just people were exploding for like 6 months and then they never did it again. Very, very weird occurrence. And then but Mara kind of has that, has the wrap it up monologue of like, just fucking, this is where she says like, I'm gonna become president, like that's president bitch to you, motherfucker. And she just, we get the message of like, just go, do the things you want to do because you could spontaneously explode at any time. And that is our big wrap up moral of the story. So should you watch this movie? Yes, 100% yes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, again, with the caveat that like if you're squeamish around blood, no,
Right.
probably don't, because when I say buckets, I'm being conservative.
Literal buckets. Yeah.
Probably more like tubs full.
Yeah.
But that said, it's a great movie, and I would definitely recommend it.
Totally. Yep. So again, it is streaming on Hulu and Amazon Prime. So if you have not watched it already, we recommend watching it. So that does it for this episode. We mentioned the movies that are coming up. We've got a lot of cool ones coming up. The next one is going to be Higher Ground, about a guy who gets god powers. Pretty fucking cool. So that's going to be pretty cool. And then right now we're not announcing yet, but please check us out on social media. We do plan to have guests this month, so we will have it possibly for at least 2 episodes. We will have some special guests on the podcast to join us and stuff like that. So we really look forward to that, but we'll announce those as we get. For those of you watching on YouTube, our socials are right down below, our Twitter accounts. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter, and of course check out Media NSR. But obviously the best way is sign up for the Night Shift Radio newsletter. There is also a link down below in the show notes. That is the best way to learn about all the things happenings around Night Shift Media. And so that's an episode, guys. So we will see you Thursday.